Okay. Hello, welcome to this second day of the QuidCon convention. We are really happy to be here. Today, we are going to present you a conference called Adapting Quidditch for Small Teams with the modalities Q3 and Q5. My name is Italia Valera, and here is with me my colleague Diego Palafox. So we come on behalf of Proyecto Q5 from Mexico, and this is a project that we have been creating for the past couple years to make Quidditch adaptable for people who are just starting to play Quidditch. So let's hope that what we present to you is going to be some kind of use for the future, even if it's not for your team, for some people that you know. And thanks again for being here with us.
As I already mentioned, my name is Italia Valera. I'm an industrial designer with a specialty in sports psychology, and also I'm doing my master's degree in design and innovation, specifically in strategic design. I am creator of several teams here in Mexico and physical activity strategies. Currently, I'm the general manager at Project Q5. Here is some of my background, mostly as a player and as an organizer. I started playing in 2015, more or less. On 2016, I was on Mexico's national team, which got me to play it at the World Cup in Frankfurt, Germany. Also, recently, in the past couple of years, I have refereed, played in every country which has Quidditch in Latin America, which means Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Peru, and obviously Mexico. And from 2019 to this day, I am the head coach of Astros Quidditch. On the other side, we have Diego Palafox, who is a graphic designer specialized in sports design. He is the creator of these modalities Q3 and Q5, and right now he is the director of this league in Project Q5. Most of his work mostly specializes in design, in sports design. Both of the most representative jobs that he has done are the image from the Copa del Sur 2019 in Peru and Copa del Sur 2019 in Rosario, Argentina. Also, he created a pet for that tournament. He has already created all of the graphic image of a lot of Mexican teams, among Grims from Guadalajara, Quidditch Guadalajara, also from other states like Boggarts, and also he has created the image from Astros. Currently, he also created all of this presentation and everything that we have to do about Project Q5. So, after you already heard about us, let's begin with the subject that we are going to explain. After several years within team management and development, we realized that current requirements to create teams and start competitive leagues, especially if it's in a city where Quidditch is played for the first time, are more like a long-term goal. This given the fact that each city has a different challenge to deal with when it comes to promote, to recruit, and to retain new players. To give an example, in 2014 in Guadalajara, Mexico, the city where Q53 is born, people started playing Quidditch with a team named Grims Guadalajara. Nevertheless, by not having a plan or nearby competition opportunities, the team eventually lost members until it disappeared. Taking these challenges into account and by personal experience, we discovered that the best way to recruit new players was to allow them to play Quidditch. But still, the minimum requirements for a full match are too many when you have limited resources, which led us to fail uncountable times when trying to have a simple match. With all these obstacles, we began to look for another way to keep the essence of Quidditch so that new people could give it a try with as few elements as possible. And that's how the development of Q53 was born. Diego and I come from a background of design majors, and within the concepts of design, there is one called MVP. It doesn't mean most valuable player as we are used to see in sport context. MVP means minimum viable product. which is a prototype version of a product that allows a team to gather the biggest amount of learning with the smallest amount of effort. This is a strategy focused on creating and selling a product to a specific group of people that involves the generation of ideas, prototype development, presentation, data collection, analysis, and learning. So, in 2018 in Guadalajara, we began with the project Quidditch Guadalajara, in which for a year and a half we did different events for locals and foreign people from other states. It was focused mainly for children, teens, and young people who had never played Quidditch before, and for experienced players who could give it a try on these modifications. As for Quidditch, 5 main variants were done in different aspects: players, equipment, field, timing, and refereeing. With the results of the first phase that lasted a year and a half, we obtained 2 modalities which had the best acceptance among the participants. One in which people could play with the most basic elements of the sport, and another which represented a middle point between the MVP mode and the full regular Quidditch. Everything focused on creating a progressive development plan. So, beginning with these differences between all of these modes, we have players. Players are an essential part from Quidditch. That's why we modified their quantity, positions per match, and gender rule. On a regular Quidditch match, we have 7 players divided into 3 chasers, 1 keeper, 2 beaters, and a seeker, with a maximum of 4 players identified with the same gender. Q5 reduces this number to 5 players divided into 2 chasers, 1 keeper, 1 beater, and a seeker, with a maximum of 3 players identified with the same gender. Q3, which is the MVP or the minimum valuable product, only requires 3 players, 1 chaser, 1 keeper, and 1 beater with no seeker, and a maximum of 2 players identified with the same gender. As of equipment, we took hoops, brooms, and balls into account. Quidditch uses 3 hoops per side, 7 brooms per team, 5 balls, which are 1 quaffle, 3 blodgers, and 1 snitch. Q5 reduces it to 1 to 3 hoops per side, depending on the expertise and the materials available, 5 brooms per team, and only 4 balls, 1 quaffle, 2 blodgers, and 1 snitch. Finally, Q3 only uses 1 hoop per side, 3 brooms per team, 1 quaffle, 2 blodgers, and no snitch, as we'll explain ahead. When it comes to the field, we tested not only different sizes and materials, but also how easy they were to get, or in other words, how could we deal with logistics and permits to host a tournament or league? A regular Quidditch field made of grass or turf with the official measurements is rather difficult to get, at least from our experience it was, especially in our country. That's why for Q5 we switched to grass or stave, which is smaller and less complicated to get. And finally for Q3, we use concrete courts which are available for public use at almost every sport facilities. Particularly for Q3, as it's placed on a hard surface, physical contact is restricted for tackling and charging to avoid injuries when players meet the ground. This makes the game more focused on speed rather than in contact. For timing, the biggest modifications come from the fact that with less players, changes are fewer and more time on field causes a bigger physical tiredness. This is why gameplay times were reduced as following. For Q5, the match lasts 10 minutes plus snitch time, which is reduced to only 5 minutes, or the snitch catch. In case there's a tight score, extra time finishes with an scoring agreement. And for Q3, As there is no snitch on game, the match only takes 10 minutes to complete, and in case it ends tied, the match gets 5 additional minutes to set a winner. As already seen with players, when it comes to referees, the number was reduced to allow less logistics and management for a match, giving the following combinations. For Q5, there is need of only one head referee, one assistant, and 2 snitch members. And as Q3 doesn't use a snitch, this number is reduced to 2 referees, which is something almost every team has available when needed. How do these modalities look on field? Here we are going to present some examples of what we have accomplished in the past years, from training sessions to leagues and tournaments. Here we can see one of the training sessions from Astros Quidditch using the Q3 modality. In here, we can notice 2 teams made of 3 players each, 1 chaser, 1 keeper, and 1 beater, using just 2 blooders, 1 quaffle, and 1 hoop per side. Also, there's only need of 1 head ref making all calls for the game. As a result, we can see the game is just focused on scoring and dodging, which can be of great help when a team has limited members, 7 in this case, or when practicing offensive or defensive tactics with chaser-keeper buddies. On this next video, we have the final match from the Fire Tournament in Toluca from the National League of 2020, played by Corvus and Dracos, both belonging to the Astros project from Querétaro. At the beginning, you can notice there are only 3 balls on game, 1 head referee, and 2 assistant referees who work as scoring and bidding assistants. On this match, half of the players were rookies on their respective teams. They had never played on a tournament before, and with only a couple months of training, they ended up on a final match at a different city where they had never traveled before. That's another perk of this modality system. The small number of players required for a tournament allows to reduce travel and accommodation expenses without sacrificing the game experience for newbies. Another team that participated on this tournament was only composed of 4 players from a city less than 2 hours away from the host city. This allowed them to travel by car and not having to rent a bus or something similar. Also, as the matches last an average of 10 minutes of active game and total of 15 real minutes, a whole tournament can be organized in one day, leaving the rest of the weekend for additional activities, which rookies really appreciate for engaging with the Quidditch community. And on this example, we can see the final match from the National Q5 tournament held on September 2019 in Guadalajara. As this was already a Q5 game, we can see 4 balls from start to finish for teams composed of 5 players, 2 chasers, 2 beaters, and a keeper, each scoring through 1 hoop on each side of the field. As we also mentioned, one of the variables changed for this modality is the size and material of the field. For this event, in alliance with the city's government, we got a football turf field to use. But despite the appropriate material, the area wouldn't fit a regular-sized field. That's why the court is reduced, allowing players to do fast and agile tactics, reducing the contact nature of the sport, improving speed and reflex from everyone playing and refereeing the game. At the end, this game finished by a scoring limit rather than the snitch dynamics. As both teams playing this game had already played regular Quidditch before, they expressed that changing these rules, number of players, balls, fields, etc., allowed them to focus on skills they hadn't used in a while, like long shot passes and scoring, explosive running, and not worrying about the score difference for snitch catch. And to add something else, this particular tournament had an open invitation to everyone who played Quidditch in the country, whether they were teams with more than 5 to 7 years of experience on official tournaments or new teams with few or no previous experience on big events. So the tournament was an excellent option for rookies to interact with experienced players in a midpoint between Q3 and Quidditch, which from the beginning was our main goal, to let everyone know that no matter how small or big you may be in this world, we can all interact and play on mixed conditions for everyone's development. Now that you have already seen how these modalities look on field, how can you implement these Q5-3 modalities in your team? As we have already explained, Q3 and Q5 are born out of the need to create short and medium-term strategies and help teams in their development within Quidditch. So here we'll give you some tips to gradually integrate these modalities. Let's begin with Q3, which is the MVP or basic level. With this modality, you begin to work 3 of the 4 possible positions, which are Chaser, Beater, and Keeper. These positions are the ones in play throughout the whole game, so it is essential that first-time players learn the most basic dynamics of these positions, such as ball use, passing, knockout effect, etc. And the most basic one, how to run with a broom between their legs. As the team integrates players, gains skill and expertise, and obtains essential equipment, the dynamics of the game can be leveled up at training sessions, such as adding a beater or integrating a second hoop. This will complicate the strategies and help keep your players motivated. At this point, we also recommend integrating some physical contact practices before starting to play the next modality. This to avoid as many accidents as possible in the game. After, we're going to keep on going with the Q5 or intermediate level. This modality is intermediate between Q3 and regular Quidditch, and here we integrate the dynamics of the Seeker, which raises the level of game dynamics and strategies, in addition to the fact that the players and referees are preparing for the complexity and physical demand of Quidditch. Here you can also make variations to alternate the dynamics of double beater and snitch. For example, in the first case, you can have 2 chasers, 1 keeper, and 2 beaters. And in the second case, you can have only 1 beater, but with snitch dynamics. So, if you are trying to give your beaters more skill, this would be a perfect opportunity to make them work as hard as they can, as they are the only ones in each team. As for refereeing, the number of attendees can increase according to your possibilities, this to complete all the necessary roles in the future. Once your team has mastered the first 2 levels of the game and they have the necessary requirements, they can move on to the next level. But if for some reason you don't get to fulfill everything, don't worry. Remember that this is a growth process and that it may take a little longer. From our experience, we can tell that one team got a competitive level after 2 years, while another got on an official tournament in just 6 months. It doesn't matter how hard it can look at the beginning. It's just about keep trying it and not losing focus and motivation from your teammates. If there's anything we can do to help you here, you are more than welcome to reach us and talk about it. And to finish this section, how can you implement the Q5-3 model in teams already formed? In the case of teams that are already complete, this model can help you in your training sessions to practice strategies during a game or to keep your team active with internal squad competitions. Remember that this is also an excellent resource to integrate new players who are barely getting to know the rules of Quidditch. As mentioned, these modalities were tested on different cases, each one with different contexts, development time, and results obtained. The first attempt of these modalities was born in Guadalajara. They started with only one staff member and homemade equipment as recycled broomsticks and unofficial balls. After a year and a half, they made 12 exhibition tournaments, kids' lessons in government initiatives, one national tournament, and a local league. During this period, 4 teams were created, 2 of them now belonging to the National League. For local tournaments, they had an average participation of 15 people on each one, and for the national tournament, they had about 50 players from all countries. Finally, in 2019, Quidditch Guadalajara was recognized as the project with the most activity and growth in 2020. They won the award for the best tournament in Quidditch alternative modalities in collaboration with the local government. Here we can see some of the pictures from exhibitions and local tournaments. Most of them were done with people new to Quidditch who were barely getting to know the sport and how to play it. As you can notice, there are no uniforms because they were barely starting and the equipment used were real brooms and small hula hoops, which the staff previously owned. After those recruitment activities, 4 teams were formed thanks to the Q5-3 modalities with the idea of creating a local league of their own. All of them were composed of new players who started these modalities, and just by nostalgia, they revived the team Grims, which was the first team ever created in Guadalajara, now returning from their ashes with new recruits. Following that phase, here we have some pictures from the national Q5 tournament. The first of this kind where the locals faced teams from other different cities. This event got to be thanks to the alliance with the city's government, with whom they had previously collaborated with the Quidditch classes for kids. The following examples are from 2 teams who had already played Quidditch in the past years. But due to the small number of players, they couldn't participate on official leagues and tournaments. First comes Boggarts Toluca from Mexico State, whose first involvement with Q5-3 was on the Q5 Terra tournament in Guadalajara, where they ended up being champions. During their visit, the staff from Proyecto Q5 talked to them to present the modalities so that they could test them as an auxiliary tool for their team growth. Boggarts captains started trying it, and from December 2019 to March 2020, just 4 months after, they grew from just 2 regular teammates on a team to 2 Q3 teams, which participated on the National Q3 League. The pictures at the bottom are from the first time Boggarts played on the Q3 tournament, where they won thanks to their previous experience. After that time, they also restructured themselves as a Q5-3 team, where their members have already proved to be players' role models, despite the little time they have from entering to the National League. The second team on this category is Chintolobos Quidditch Club, who were on the same position as Boggarts, dealing with the number of players to participate in official tournaments. This team began playing with the Q5 modality in the 2019 national tournament, and after on the Q3 National League in 2020. This team hasn't had the opportunity to expand yet due to the current health situation, but its captains have been actively working on the virtual activities of Project Q5 to return on field the moment we are allowed to do it. Even though they have very few members, they have never lost their motivation on being a strong team. That's why their biggest contribution to this project has also been focused on developing refereeing resources for all game modalities, Q3, Q5, and regular Quidditch. And last but not least, we have Astros Quidditch. Currently, they are the only college team in Mexico belonging to Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro. As this team was created barely on 2019, they began their practices using the Q53 modalities as a development strategy more than just as a growth plan. This has allowed them to create internal competitions to enhance physical activity and to keep motivation high on all its members, especially during these times. They have also used Q53 as a learning tool for their new members who can embrace Quidditch rules from the MVP to the full rule set easily compared to when trying to learn everything in a small amount of time. Just in these past 2 years from this project's creation, Astros has taught Quidditch to almost 100 college students from different faculties throughout the whole college, at all its campi in more than 6 different cities. Currently, as group practices are prohibited due to the health situation, Astros continues training remotely with about 80 students to whom virtual sessions have helped them remain active despite the fact of being away from college. Their work method is to divide themselves into 3 internal competition squads named Corvus, Dracos, and Pegasus, which face themselves within the college walls for friendly Q3 competitions and a midterm tournament on Q5 modality, where only one squad can be named champion. From the results obtained on that tournament, the best 21 players get chosen to form Astro Selection, which competes in official leagues and tournaments. Besides, given the fact that from the second semester of 2020, they have had many more recruits than expected, they have decided to divide themselves into 6 internal squads to increase their skills and to form a second competitive team named Nova Astros, or as they like to call themselves, Astritos, whose main goal is to start competing in national events for stepping into Astros team furtherly, which at the speed they are having is not going to take much time. As of today, these Q53 squads and the official team they are already gained big recognitions from the Quidditch community. On the pictures, we have MVPs, Revelation Player of the Season, Best Referee, Best Chaser, Best Keeper, Tournament Champions, League Finalists, Team Power, among others obtained in national and international events in Mexico and South America, gaining the status of the most important talent seedbed nationwide. What else could we say about Q53? Q53 is an opportunity for the growth and development of new and not so new teams. This project can be an excellent tool for all expansion projects around the world. We are fully aware that some may think things work right the way they are right now, but everything we know is subject to improvement. Diego and I have failed more times than we'd like to admit in all of our years in the Quidditch world. But everything has paid off thanks to the success we've had with this initiative. We wanted to share we wanted to have different results from what we had before. So we took the chance to open our horizons and try different paths with awesome results. Our final advice would be to invite you to give it a try, as some of the people that have some things to say about our project.
Hi, my name is Christopher. I was in Quidditch classes with Italia Valera, and I'm going to talk about my experience. For many students, it was our first contact with this sport, so we had to learn the rules, how to play, the positions, and more things. So to learn all of this, the teacher organized live videos on Facebook and invited players from another countries to talk about each position and their own experience in the game. I think it was a good idea because we were able to learn together and from different person, and you could ask them for anything you want in real time if you had some questions. It lasts along all the term, so in the end we learn all the basics to play in the future.
I started Quidditch the last year due to the global situation and learning remotely. I honestly thought it would be harder to get into the sport because of all of the new elements and the rules. But my coach teach me in a very dynamic way, and she always keep us informed about all of the modification and updates of the rules because it's very important. I think it's the most important part of a game, the rules, because they keep us safe and they give us the opportunity of having a respectful experience at the game.
As a Quidditch player, the first thing you should do before hitting the field is learning about the roles inside a game. It's really important for you to understand what each role stands for, what limits it has, or the abilities you need to develop according to the position you have been assigned for. It is also very important for you to learn the rules inside match. Quidditch is a sport that is always evolving, and if you don't keep up with the updates, you will be left behind. When I first started into the sport, I didn't know anything at all. But thanks to the Project Q5 and the conference they have been sharing, it has helped me a lot to learn about Quidditch by listening through other players' experiences. It makes it easier to understand and to rely on their other people's experiences. It makes you learn about the sport and also to fall in love with Quidditch.
Hi, my name is Rodrigo, and I would like to share my experience with you about Quidditch. So, in the beginning, it was kind of hard getting used to it because I haven't even played something like that before. As a first timer, a lot was going on the field. I didn't know what was going on the field actually. There's a lot of people running around. You holding a broom between your legs. Everyone has like different headbands, different colors. So, but with a lot of practice, it's actually a pretty good game. It's a great way to meet people and to stay in shape. I was able to play what's called Q5. To me, my experience with this, it was just amazing. I mean, I met new people. Was able to get around the rules in the basic terms. Um, it helped me get in better shape. Um, and like I said, the game itself, I mean, it's just like a lot of strategy, running around, having fun. I mean, it's been great playing this game, and I really recommend it. I mean, there's even this new way of playing it. It's called Q3, which is faster, more agile, and yeah, I mean, such an amazing game.
Okay, and finally, thank you from both of us for being here this day. And we want just to give a small little message to all of our Latin American community that is listening to us from part of Diego. So, Diego.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos que se dieron el tiempo de ver esta presentación. Y nada más decirles que el Q53 es una oportunidad para hacer que el Quidditch llegue a otras partes del mundo y ayudar a los equipos nuevos a crecer. Muchas gracias.
De mi parte también, muchas gracias. Va a ser el único momento en el que yo les hable en español. Como mexicana y como latina, estoy muy orgullosa de que estemos aquí, de que podamos estar llevándoles este contenido a todas las personas alrededor del mundo. Entonces, de todo corazón, gracias por acompañarnos. And finally, thank you for everyone who has listened to us. We're a little bit sorry that we did this goodbye in Spanish, but it's really important for us letting all of you know that we come from Mexico, we come from Latin America, and what we have done in here has been really useful for us. So thank you for letting us share a little part of our job or from our families, from our teams with you, and get to expand all of this from Q5 and Q3, not only in Mexico and Latin America, but hopefully to all around the world. So once again, thank you very much for sharing this moment with us. And we're really looking forward to keep listening to you and to keep sharing with you all of these experiences. Thank you.
You can follow us in YouTube as PQ5 Mexico and on Facebook as Proyecto Q5. And now we will pass to the Q&A section if there is anything else you'd like to know about us and PQ5. Thank you very much.